Episode 13. Whispers of Oblivion. Exhaustion hung heavy over the village like a shroud. The battle scars, both physical and emotional, were fresh reminders of the night's struggle. Yet, amidst the weariness, a flicker of defiance burned bright. They had tasted victory, and it had ignited a fierce determination within them. Elara, her body aching but her spirit resolute, stood beside Kai in the center of the village square. The starseed, though dimmed after its exertion, still pulsed with a faint light, a symbol of their hard-won victory. The villagers, gathered around them, bore the marks of battle, bandaged wounds, soot-stained clothes, but their eyes held a newfound resolve. The Oblivion Gate, Elara the Wild One stated, her voice raspy from the night's exertion. A place spoken of only in hushed whispers, a gateway to the very heart of the darkness. A shiver ran down Elara's spine as she recalled the chilling legends surrounding the gate. A place where nightmares materialized, where even the bravest hearts faltered. Anya stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "We can't let fear rule us," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "We fought back the darkness once, and we can do it again." Gregor, his hand resting on his trusty hammer, rumbled in agreement. "We need a plan," he said, his voice gruff but determined. "We can't just blindly charge into a place like that." Kai, their celestial form shimmering faintly, nodded. "The well's magic can help. It can cloak us from the darkness's sight, but only for a short while." Elara, her mind racing, looked at Elara the Wild One. "You mentioned tracking whispers left by the creatures. Can you lead us to the gate?" Elara the Wild One met her gaze, a hint of apprehension flickering in her emerald eyes. "I can lead you close," she admitted. "But the heart of the Whispering Woods is a treacherous place, even without the added danger of the Oblivion Gate." A tense silence descended upon the group. They were facing a seemingly impossible task, a journey into the heart of darkness itself, but there was no turning back. The darkness might return, stronger and more relentless. Someone had to take a stand. One by one, the villagers stepped forward, their faces etched with determination. Anya, Gregor, a young apprentice eager to prove himself, and several seasoned hunters, they volunteered to accompany Elara and Kai. The others, though unable to join the fight directly, pledged their support. They would tend to the wounded, work on strengthening the village defenses, and keep the starseed burning bright, a beacon of hope for those venturing into the unknown. With a heavy heart but a steely resolve, Elara addressed the group. "This is a perilous journey," she declared, her voice steady. "We may not all return. But we fight for our home, for our loved ones, and for the future of our world." As dawn painted the horizon with streaks of gold and rose, a small band of unlikely heroes set off into the heart of the Whispering Woods. Elara, the baker, armed not with a sword but with the unwavering courage of a protector. Kai, the celestial scout, their celestial form a beacon against the encroaching shadows. Anya, the brave villager, her axe a symbol of defiance. Gregor, the blacksmith, his hammer a testament to strength and resilience. And alongside them, a band of villagers, united by a common purpose. They were a small group, but they carried the hopes of an entire village on their shoulders. The journey to the Oblivion Gate would be fraught with danger, but they would face it head-on, their hearts fueled by the flickering flame of hope and the unwavering belief that even the most ordinary people could rise to become extraordinary heroes. The fate of their world hung in the balance, and they were the last line of defense. Episode 14. Echoes in the dark. The heart of the Whispering Woods was a far cry from the familiar paths Elara knew. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy, casting long, twisted shadows that danced on the forest floor. The air hung heavy with an oppressive silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of unseen creatures and the unsettling whispers that seemed to emanate from the very trees themselves. Elara, her grip tightening on the makeshift staff she carried, led the way. The well's magic cloaked them in a faint shimmer, making them difficult to detect by the darkness, but Elara the Wild One's warnings echoed in her mind. This magic wouldn't last forever, and the deeper they ventured, the stronger the darkness grew. Beside her, Kai, their celestial form flickering faintly, scanned their surroundings with a worried expression. Anya, ever vigilant, kept her axe at the ready, while Gregor, his face grim, held his hammer tight. The young apprentice, eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement, clutched a slingshot in his trembling hands. As they ventured deeper, the whispers grew louder, morphing into chilling pronouncements of despair and hopelessness. Elara felt a cold dread seep into her bones, a pressure that threatened to suffocate her. It was a constant battle against the darkness's insidious influence, a test of their will. Suddenly, Elara the Wild One halted, raising a hand for silence. She pointed to a gnarled tree, its branches twisted into grotesque shapes. A faint, oily sheen clung to its bark, and the air around it shimmered with a malevolent energy. "The taint of the Oblivion Gate," Elara the Wild One whispered, her voice laced with apprehension. "We're close." Anya stepped forward, her gaze resolute. "Then let's get this over with," she declared, her voice unwavering despite the rising dread. With a shared nod, they pressed on, the twisted trees growing denser, the whispers turning into a cacophony of screams and tormented moans. The well's magic flickered precariously, threatening to sputter out at any moment. Finally, they reached a clearing. Before them loomed a colossal gate, its obsidian surface etched with symbols that pulsed with an otherworldly light. An inky mist swirled around the gate, emanating a suffocating darkness that threatened to engulf them. This was the Oblivion Gate, a gateway to the very heart of the darkness. A wave of despair washed over Elara, but she forced it down. They had come too far to turn back now. "The magic is failing," Kai rasped, their celestial form flickering erratically. "We need to act fast." Elara looked at her companions, their faces etched with determination despite the overwhelming darkness. They had a plan, a desperate gamble hatched during their arduous trek. Anya, with a fierce battle cry, charged towards the gate, drawing the attention of the swirling shadows. Gregor, ever the stalwart defender, followed close behind, his hammer a beacon of defiance. The apprentice, his fear momentarily forgotten, launched a hail of stones from his slingshot. Elara and Kai, cloaked in the fading well's magic, slipped past the distracted shadows and towards the gate. Elara, remembering her grandmother's stories of forgotten magic, reached into her pouch and pulled out a small, intricately carved amulet, the one Agatha, the wise old woman, had pressed into her hand weeks ago. The amulet glowed faintly when Elara grasped it, a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness. With a deep breath, she channeled all her hope, all her love for her village, into the amulet. A surge of energy erupted from it, striking the gate's surface. A blinding light filled the clearing as the amulet's energy collided with the gate's dark magic. A shriek of pure agony echoed from within the gate, a sound that shook the very ground beneath their feet. The shadows recoiled, dissolving into wisps of dark smoke. The gate shuddered, and a crack appeared across its obsidian surface. Then, with a deafening boom, the gate shattered, collapsing in on itself. A wave of blinding light erupted from the breach, pushing back the darkness and revealing a swirling vortex of pure energy. Exhausted but exhilarated, Elara watched as the darkness receded, the oppressive silence lifting from the clearing. They had done it. They had breached the Oblivion Gate, a feat many considered impossible. But their victory was bittersweet. The vortex pulsed with an otherworldly energy, an energy that threatened to consume them all. Kai, their celestial form flickering desperately, staggered towards the vortex. "I have to seal." Kai's voice trailed off as they lurched towards the swirling vortex, their celestial form flickering erratically. Elara understood. The shattered gate had destabilized the flow of dark energy, threatening to engulf the world. Someone had to seal the breach, and Kai, as a celestial scout, was uniquely qualified for the task. "No," Elara cried, a surge of fear and protectiveness washing over her. They had come so far together, and the thought of losing Kai now was unbearable. But Kai, with a determined smile that illuminated their wavering form, turned towards Elara. "This is what I was meant to do," they whispered, their voice filled with an otherworldly serenity. "Tell them ... tell the village ... we won." Before Elara could respond, Kai launched themselves into the swirling vortex. A blinding flash of light erupted, momentarily engulfing the clearing, then silence. The vortex had vanished, leaving only a faint tremor in the air as a testament to the battle that had just transpired. Elara sank to her knees, tears blurring her vision. Grief threatened to consume her, but amidst the sorrow, a spark of determination flickered. Kai had sacrificed themselves to save their world. They wouldn't let that be in vain. Anya and Gregor rushed to Elara's side, their faces etched with a mixture of relief and grief. The young apprentice, tears streaming down his cheeks, clutched his slingshot tightly. They had won, but at a terrible cost. Slowly, Elara rose to her feet, wiping away her tears. They had a long journey back to the village, a story to tell, and a future to rebuild. Kai's sacrifice had bought them time, a chance to heal their wounds and prepare for whatever challenges might lie ahead. With a deep breath, Elara looked at her companions. "We have to go back," she declared, her voice hoarse but steady. "The village needs to know. We need to plan for what comes next." Anya and Gregor nodded, their grief momentarily overshadowed by the weight of responsibility. Together, they helped the young apprentice to his feet, and with heavy hearts, they turned away from the shattered remains of the Oblivion Gate and began their long trek back home. The journey back was a somber one. The whispers of the woods seemed to echo Kai's sacrifice, a constant reminder of the price they had paid for their victory. But as they emerged from the dense canopy, the sight of the familiar village square filled them with a renewed sense of purpose. The villagers greeted them with a mixture of joy and apprehension. Elara, her voice trembling slightly, recounted the events at the Oblivion Gate, the battle, the victory, and Kai's sacrifice. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd, followed by a heavy silence. Elara the Wild One, tears glistening in her eyes, placed a hand on Elara's shoulder. "They died a hero," she whispered. "They saved our world." The villagers, their faces etched with grief and gratitude, bowed their heads in silent tribute. Elara knew then that Kai's memory would live on, a symbol of courage and selflessness that would inspire them in the days to come. The battle for their world was far from over. The darkness might return in a different form, a different guise, but they were no longer ordinary villagers. They were survivors, tested by fire, forged in the crucible of adversity. With Kai's sacrifice as their guiding light, they would rebuild, they would prepare, and they would face the future with courage and determination. The baker, the blacksmith, the wild woman, the apprentice, and the villagers, they were a band of unlikely heroes, forever bound by their shared experience, ready to defend their world, no matter the cost. Episode 15, Embers of Hope. Weeks turned into months as the village settled into a new normal. The joy of victory over the Oblivion Gate was tempered by the ever-present grief for Kai and Elara, haunted by their sacrifice, found solace in the bakery, the familiar rhythm of kneading dough and tending the fire offering a sense of comfort amidst the swirling emotions. The villagers, though shaken, didn't succumb to despair. Fueled by Kai's memory and Elara's unwavering resolve, they channeled their grief into action. Gregor, ever the pragmatist, oversaw the refortification of the village walls, while Anya trained a new generation of young fighters. Elara the Wild One, true to her word, helped them map the Whispering Woods, identifying safer routes and potential dangers. The villagers, inspired by their courage, ventured deeper into the woods, gathering resources and learning to navigate the treacherous landscape. One clear evening, as Elara sat outside her bakery, gazing at the star-dusted night sky, Elara the Wild One joined her. A comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the crackling of the fireflies flitting through the air. "You haven't been to the clearing since we returned," Elara the Wild One finally remarked, her voice gentle. Elara shook her head. The clearing, once a battleground, now held a bittersweet significance for her. It was a place of victory, but also a place of immense loss. "I miss them," Elara confessed, a tear tracing a path down her cheek. Elara the Wild One placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We all do," she murmured, "but Kai wouldn't want us to dwell on the past. They would want us to live, to remember them in our hearts as we rebuild our lives." Elara nodded, a flicker of determination returning to her eyes. Kai was right. They couldn't let grief paralyze them. They had to honor their sacrifice by living their lives to the fullest, by protecting the world Kai had given his life for. The next morning, Elara emerged from her bakery with a newfound resolve. She gathered the villagers in the square, her voice ringing with a newfound strength. "We may have lost a friend," she declared, "but we haven't lost hope. We stand stronger now, united by our shared experience. We will rebuild, we will prepare, and we will face the future with courage. For Kai, for our village, and for the future of our world, the villagers erupted in cheers, their voices echoing through the square. Anya, her eyes gleaming with admiration, stepped forward. "We have a new generation to train," she announced, her voice echoing Elara's determination. "We will teach them to fight, to survive, and to never forget the sacrifice that saved us all." Gregor, a gruff smile on his face, hefted his hammer. "We will rebuild our walls, stronger than before. No darkness will breach them while we stand guard." Elara the Wild One, a hint of sadness lingering in her eyes, placed a hand on Elara's arm. "And we will continue to explore, to learn the secrets of the woods, so we are better prepared for what might lie ahead." As the villagers dispersed, their faces etched with determination, Elara knew this was just the beginning. The darkness might return, but they were ready. They were no longer just a village. They were a community, forged in the fires of adversity, forever bound by their shared history. And Elara, the baker, would stand at their center, a beacon of hope, a testament to the extraordinary courage that can rise from the most ordinary of beginnings. The embers of hope glowed brightly in the village square, a promise of a brighter future, a future they would build together, honoring the memory of the celestial scout who had given his all to save their world. Episode 16. Whispers on the wind months bled into years, and a fragile peace settled over the village. The villagers, forever marked by their encounter with the darkness, thrived under Elara's gentle leadership. The bakery remained the heart of the village, its warm aroma a constant reminder of simpler times. Yet, beneath the surface, a quiet vigilance simmered. Elara, haunted by fleeting dreams of the swirling vortex and Kai's sacrifice, poured her emotions into her baking. Her bread, imbued with a subtle celestial sweetness, became a symbol of hope and resilience. Anya, now a seasoned warrior, trained the younger generation, her fierce spirit a constant inspiration. Gregor, his weathered face etched with wisdom, oversaw the village defences, his hammer a constant reminder of their strength. Elara the Wild One, ever the explorer, continued her ventures into the Whispering Woods, though the whispers had faded since the Oblivion Gate's destruction. A strange serenity now blanketed the woods, broken only by the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves. One crisp autumn morning, Elara the Wild One returned from her exploration, a curious glint in her emerald eyes. She found Elara in the bakery, kneading dough with a practiced ease. "I found something interesting deep within the woods," Elara the Wild One announced, her voice laced with excitement. Elara set down the dough, wiping flour-dusted hands on her apron. "What is it?" she inquired, a flicker of curiosity sparking in her eyes. Elara the Wild One produced a small, smooth stone, its surface etched with intricate symbols that shimmered with an otherworldly light. "I found it near a hidden grove," she explained. The whispers there were different, not filled with despair, but with a faint melody, almost a song. Elara took the stone, its cool surface sending a shiver down her spine. The symbols seemed to hum with a faint energy, a language she couldn't decipher but felt strangely drawn to. "Perhaps Agatha can help," Elara suggested, a hopeful glint in her eyes. Agatha, the wise old woman who lived on the outskirts of the village, was known for her vast knowledge of ancient lore. Together, they sought out Agatha's humble cottage. The old woman, her face etched with wrinkles like a roadmap of a life well lived, greeted them with a warm smile. Elara explained their discovery, placing the stone in Agatha's frail hands. Agatha examined the stone with a furrowed brow. Her fingers traced the symbols, a faint gasp escaping her lips. "This," she finally rasped, her voice trembling with a newfound urgency. "This is a celestial artifact." A fragment of a map, leading to the celestial plane. Elara and Elara the Wild One exchanged surprised glances. The celestial plane, a realm spoken of only in hushed whispers, was the home of the celestial scouts, beings of pure energy who watched over the world. But why would there be a map to the celestial plane here? Elara asked, her voice laced with confusion. Agatha shook her head. "I don't know," she admitted. "But perhaps the answer lies within the celestial plane itself. Perhaps Kai left a message, a way for you to find closure." Elara's heart pounded with a mix of trepidation and hope. The celestial plane was a dangerous place, a realm beyond human comprehension. But the thought of finding some form of closure, of perhaps even a message from Kai, was too strong to resist. Looking at Elara the Wild One, Elara knew they couldn't make this journey alone. They needed a team, a group of brave and skilled individuals willing to venture into the unknown. With a deep breath, Elara addressed Elara the Wild One. "We need to gather a team," she declared, her voice filled with a newfound determination. "We're going to the celestial plane." Elara the Wild One grinned, a spark of excitement dancing in her emerald eyes. "Then let's find a way," she declared. "We may be bakers and warriors, but we're also heroes. And heroes don't shy away from a challenge." Anya, Gregor, and the young apprentice, now a skilled fighter himself, readily joined the cause. Fueled by a shared sense of purpose and a flicker of hope, they began preparations for their most perilous journey yet. As they gathered their supplies and trained for the unknown dangers that awaited them, a single question lingered in the air. What would they find in the celestial plane? Would they find closure, a message,